Hi everyone, welcome back from lunch. I hope you got a little bit of fresh air, a little bit of a break, and some delicious food. I think there's some extra back there if anybody still wants a little bite to eat. And our Zoom friends are with us, Todd? There they are, great. Welcome to our Zoomers, back from wherever you're taking a break too, wonderful. So before I start to read these beautiful words that are written right in front of me, I do want to say I can't take credit for a single one of them because my workshop leader, partner, who is actually here with us today, but has lost her voice. And she is, I just want to assure everybody, COVID, RSV, and influenza A and B negative. So not to worry, but she has a cough. So she's not going to be able to participate verbally, but I do want to certainly recognize that Candace has been the primary person who has put this workshop together for you. And then we have met a few times and had some delicious coffee and conversation about it. This workshop, I believe, really has come from some experiences that we've had as NAUA attendees of academy events and other sorts of events where people get into breakout rooms and just feel the need to want to talk about their experience of wherever they are on this journey that's been a little bit difficult for all of us. So that's where Candace really got the idea, maybe we should do a workshop at this first summit. This is not a workshop that's mandatory attendance or even participation. And some of you, in fact, I just had a conversation with somebody during the lunch break who doesn't really want to rehash or review or revisit some of the feelings that they've had. So if that applies to you, feel free to do whatever it is that you need to do to take up some time. You'll have an hour and a half at least until the next workshop comes. But I want to start by reading Candace's words, who was so kind enough to not be able to present them, but she sent them to me via email, and so I've printed them out for the start of this workshop. My name is Candace Schmidt, and with me this morning is Lynn Jinishian, that is me. We are both members here in Spokane, and it is so exciting to be with you all as we gather together to share our commitment to liberal religion and its values of freedom, reason, and tolerance. These values are rooted in our commitment to the inherent worth and dignity of every person. All of us here, in some form or another, have experienced the distortion of our Unitarian Universalist religion over the past several years. I am sure many of us have felt a number of strong emotions related to hearing about the Unitarian Universalist Association acting in ways that are opposite to the values we have said we believed in. And many of us have directly experienced in our congregations, ministers, or fellow church members who began to engage in behaviors that at the very least disappointed us and at the most horrified us. These behaviors included the shutting down expressions of legitimate concern and the development of a party line that we were told to follow, and even the public shaming of those who refused to follow the directives of those who incredibly told us that they were acting out of love. The title of our presentation, Losing Your Religion, Moving Toward Wellness, may reflect how many feel about what has transpired over the past several years in our denomination. But I wonder if it is really possible for an overarching organization like the UUA to actually be capable of taking away a person's core sense of values and way of relating to the world around us, whether we describe that way as religious or spiritual or mystic or pragmatic. Because we as Unitarians so value the principle of the free and responsible search for meaning and truth, we are guided daily by what we have been taught from our life experiences, our families and mentors, our compassion, our ability to reason, our love of freedom. No organization can take our chosen way of being away from us. Whether or not any organization has espoused a particular mission statement or an aspirational list of principles, what really matters is that the core values and behaviors of the members reflect a deep sense of humanity with a commitment to the flourishing of all individuals. A quote by Baruch Spinoza says it well. Those who are governed by reason desire nothing for themselves which they do not also desire for the rest of humankind. Saying all this, however, is not to diminish the pain we have felt at witnessing an organization we trusted to support and inspire us, and local churches with which we felt a deep sense of belonging, seemingly all of a sudden turn away from the core values that drew us to Unitarian Universalism in the first place. Experiencing our once safe church home and community became a space that did not feel safe anymore is a real loss for all of us. And for many of us, this loss comes with feelings of confusion, sadness, and also feelings of frustration and anger with those with whom we could not discuss our dismay and the sense of having had the rug pulled out from under us. Grief expert David Kessler says the experience of loss is often followed by feelings of grief, feelings that can seem contradictory to each other: anger, sadness, denial, acceptance. Efforts to somehow forestall the perception of loss and the experience of loss are often engaged in to help us feel anchored when that anchor has been lost. This is the bargaining stage. Kessler says these 5 stages were never meant to be prescriptive or to be used as a way for containing those difficult feelings into a manageable box. He stresses the stages were meant to illustrate the common experience after there has been a loss, and that there is no one way to move through all of these emotions. The 5th stage, acceptance, is when we can concede and yield to the actuality of the loss. Acceptance can come with an increased sense of ease, and it can come with a continuance of painful feelings. Kessler explains that Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who first identified the 5 stages in her 1969 book on death and dying, never meant to convey the acceptance stage was the final step in the process. In fact, Kessler, who was a protege and collaborator with Kubler-Ross on later projects, came to understand there was a crucial sixth stage to the healing process: finding meaning. So even when one reaches the stage of acceptance, there is the task of reconfiguring a sense of meaning, a new way of moving through the world that brings us satisfaction, fulfillment, and joy. As Unitarians, we are not unfamiliar with the concept of the search for truth and meaning and how that search can change and evolve through our lives. But before we all rush to this 6th stage of finding new meaning in our lives, it is important to allow ourselves and others the space and time to grapple with what we have lost, to feel and express the emotions that come, to come to understand them, and to support each other in that process. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take some time in the group, in the Zoom meeting. They are going to break out into breakout rooms now, and we're going to do that here within this room. We'd like to keep your groups to be about no bigger than 8 at the most. And you could, if you want to find a space somewhere else in the church just to be able to be in a little bit of a quieter space, you can. But What I would suggest is that you don't go too far so we don't have to go running around looking for people. And we will come back together in just a little bit. I do want to go over, we have prepared 3 questions, 3 things that we would like each one of the groups to take some time. Whoever wants to speak can, and it is just as important. Speaking, of course, is just as important as listening or holding space for the person who is speaking. If you do not wish to speak, again, there's no mandatory, you must participate in this. If you just want to listen and hear some others speak, you're welcome to do that too. And again, if you just want to go get a cup of coffee and wander around our beautiful grounds, you're welcome to do that. So I believe we have a slide, Todd, that has the 3 questions that you can speak about in your groups, okay? But I'll read these discussion questions or discussion topics. There's 3 of them. The first is, discuss your reactions to changes in Unitarian Universalism. What are you currently feeling about these changes? And the third one is, share what has helped you move forward. Todd, can they hear me on Zoom? They can.
By Eric Hoffer.
Hi, Zoom friends. It looks like Alan.
Situations.
I did not hear the 2 books because
Like
we
that.
were interrupted by the main session. Could you repeat them, please?
I'm putting them in the chat. The True Believer by Eric Hoffer and The Cult of Trump by Hassan.
Great books there. Alan, I'm not sure if you're our Zoom host or whoever's bringing people back from the breakout rooms, if they could all come on back, and people are making their way back into the sanctuary, and we'll finish up in about 15, we're going to take about 15 minutes here.
Okay, so
They'll start to trickle in. Whoops.
Counting down, it's about 100 seconds right now.
Oh, 100 seconds. Okay. Well, while we're waiting for our Zoom friends to join us again, let me make a quick announcement for those of you who are here and got a packet from your check-in. Just wanted to make sure that you notice inside of that packet there is a paper copy of an evaluation of the summit. And was it Judy? Who asked me to? Joyce. Joyce asked me to make sure that, there she is. Joyce asked me to make sure that you take some time, please, to fill that evaluation out. It'll be super helpful for us moving forward for next year's yearly summit, which I'm sure you already have your tickets for, right?
Where's it going to be?
Right, all the questions. Pardon me? Joyce, do you want them to, or you can bring it to church on Sunday, or where do you want them to turn that in?
So you can turn it with what's at the table tomorrow, perhaps in the afternoon, or church on Sunday. There is also an online Google form if you're more comfortable with that, which we can send out afterwards. So if you like, make sure you're Google.
Yep. So you can, there's a little place back there on the table that you can set that evaluation form here, right here in the church, or you can you can do it Sunday. You can do it today or tomorrow or Sunday. And you can also fill that form out online, which I'm sure our Zoom attendees, people who have attended online, will be receiving it that way. But so will you. An email is going to go out with an evaluation form too.
Would it be adverse if I did it last night while I was waiting to get some sleep?
Okay, well, let's go ahead and take our last few minutes together. I did want to just reiterate a couple of points about this particular workshop. First of all, I don't need to tell you that no single workshop is going to bring resolution to some of these very difficult emotions that many of us are feeling, have been feeling, or have maybe moved through. So, darn it, we can't fix everything in a single workshop. These are ongoing conversations, and we are having them in our relationships, in our homes, with our friends, people who we know, people we don't know all that well. They're continuing within our congregations, and certainly they're continuing, hopefully, within relationships that you're having when you're meeting people from the NAUA. I think one of the best things that we can do with each other and for each other is remember that no matter where you are on this journey as you're moving your way through some of these important and difficult emotions, the person that you are having a conversation with may not be in the exact same place. And so patience and kindness when you find yourself in a conversation with somebody who is in a different place is probably the best approach in trying to maintain a relationship moving forward and when you're having those difficult times. So right now what we want to do is take a few minutes for anybody who's willing or wanting to. Ron has a microphone for people here, and then we'll take a few moments to listen to our online attendees, our Zoom attendees. But what we want to focus on is anybody who has an idea of how they have moved forward in this process. So we're not going to spend too much time talking about the first two questions, just the last one, which was share an idea or an approach you've had in moving forward in this process. So let's start here in the room, and then we'll go back and forth. So I think, we're going to bring a microphone here.
And we got, hey, I'm here, right?
Yeah.
The group I was with, we did get around to the third question. It's easy to spend a lot of time with the first two. But what the little concluding remarks included the fact that when a split occurred in a congregation, whether it was the congregation that remained or the congregation that left, the group that left or the group that stayed, the group that has these feelings in favor of NAUA and its trouble with UUA come together in a manner in which they found favorable that created more community than existed in the previous situation. The other thing was that simply getting involved with NAUA made a big difference to people because it was positive, it was forward-looking, forward-thinking, and there was a ray of hope. And those are the two main points that came out of our group.
Thank you, Tom. We're going to take one more here. Frank's got something he's going to say, and then we'll go to Zoom.
Yep, it's working. I don't want to undermine or trivialize the sufferings that people have gone through in terms of feeling loss.
Hold it real close to your mouth.
But I don't feel I lost my religion. I feel I gained it. The transition that I had was writing the book with Jay. He made up for all the loss of the social loss of the church, again, a good friend. And as I said in the book, I didn't know really the depth of my own commitment to liberal religion until I had to defend it.
Nice. Thank you, Frank. All right, let's go to Zoom, and it looks like I won't be able to see the name. So, Alan, if you could call on somebody there.
Well, I think, at least on my screen, I was the first one with the hand up, and then I can call on the other two.
Sure.
So anyway, the group we were in, we kind of identified about 3 things in connection with that third point, and the things that we thought was helped in moving forward. The first thing was to stand up for our values, and which meant, it might be, if you want to say, join together others who stood for, traditional liberal values, either in our own congregation or nationwide. So you might consider yourself a dissident group nationwide, or you might be a minority or a majority in your own congregation. It varies depending on situation. But you were standing up against a lot of the trends and practices of the current UUA. So that was one thing. The second thing is that individuals, at least not everybody, but at least some individuals found that if their particular UU church was very problematic with regard to being dogmatic, that they might either have moved to another UU congregation that was not dogmatic and was still practicing liberal religion, or either in person in their metropolitan area, or have moved to joining online a congregation that was distant from them, but still seemed to be adhering to more traditional UU values. So that was another thing that people brought up. And the third thing was that people found some strength and solace in just studying the issue more, reading books, magazine articles, other things that dealt with situations like this. So they have a better intellectual understanding of these kinds of dogmatic movements, and so they can kind of put themselves in a better place as far as being able to understand them and respond to them. So that's it for me.
Great.
So I think next we had Julie up there.
Okay, great.
Okay, I put a couple of books in there. Oh, let me put my video on now. Put a couple of books in there that helped me. And like Reverend Eckloff, I do think that the UUA has become a cult. And so these are books about cult that describe very well what was happening in my congregation. Also, Reverend Eckloff's books, the Gadfly, Papers in the Gadfly Affair, described his experience, which was very much like things that I and other people in my local congregation went through. So the 2 other books besides Reverend Eckloff's, I put them in the chat. They're The True Believer by Eric Hoffer and The Cult of Trump by Stephen Hesson. And I think Stephen was supposed to be our keynote speaker, but he couldn't make it or something. But what he has to say is very relevant to what's going on in UUism. And also my local dissenters group separated from the church, and that was very helpful because they were always the leaders of the church or the congregation I was in were always being abusive, absolutely abusive to the people in the dissenters group, and it really helped to separate and go rent another church part-time so that we could do our activities without interference. And I have put in the chat the URL for our local dissenters group in Port Townsend, which to my knowledge is the largest local dissenters group from UUism. It's called the Salish Sea Fellowship. It's at salishseafellowship.org.
Great. And for those of you here in the room, that's you, Ron, right? That's your group? Yeah, Ron and Joyce. So we'll get that to you from here if you're right here in the room. Hang on, Zoomers. We're going to take another one from the room in Spokane, and we'll come back to you.
Okay, this on? This is on.
I had a pen, so this is from the group. One of them is, as someone called it, chasing community. That community is so important, especially in your case, because you have young children too. And so just not willing to give up on that, but to keep trying to build it. And taking the long view that what we're going through now it's the pits. But if you take the longer view and we keep working, what can we build to make us stronger or newer or whatever? And coming to this conference, to be able to see you all and face to face and to find that there are other people. None of us are alone in this. We're all over the countries, and so there's strength in that. And then finally, joining other groups. Some people have joined like UMIAC, or certain other groups out there that are working on aspects of it. And so that's been very helpful and also keep us coming.
Another one in the room? Anybody else here in the room want to? It doesn't have to be a group report out. It can be something you're doing personally as an individual. Yeah?
With a shameless plug here. So attend the next month's NAUA Summit because I'll be speaking there.
Academy event? Academy.
I'm sorry, NAU Academy, not Summit. But basically it comes down to finding other groups that share your values, and I will talk about one of them.
Great, thank you. It does help to feel like you're not alone in this. How about back on Zoom again? Somebody has their hand up there.
That would be me, Matthew Shear of Lynn, Massachusetts. I guess at this point, a lot of what I was going to say has been said, but I do want to give thanks not only to NAUA, but to Frank and Jay for the Fifth Principle Project, and UMIAC, which I am a board member. And we have our third Wednesday of the month Vespers service. If you go to uumuac.org, you can find all that information. Past ones are on Zoom, or on YouTube rather. And I would just encourage everyone, even if you don't have a local group, make contacts with everyone you meet here, give them a call, send them an email. We have to support each other. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, making contacts. Great opportunity this weekend. Oh, I think we have one more up here. We have a couple more minutes, so.
Yeah, I've been working at this in lots of different ways, and one is just coming here on Sundays for the services because I don't enjoy going to my old church that I went to for 28 years, but I find this works. And going to lots of the workshops and the services with NAUA. And I decided to agree to be president of my local garden club. And it's a really nice group. So sometimes it's just getting outside of church and finding other things. And so I'm doing a lot more with music. And and then I discovered another group called WOOF, Women's Liberation Front. Doesn't let guys in, I don't think, but anyways. So there's lots of other groups out there, as people have said. So finding people who are like-minded and doing stuff with them.
Sounds like the women groups needs to get local.
Another hand up on Zoom. Okay.
Me?
Yeah, sure.
Hi. My name's Robin Edgar. I'm an excommunicated Unitarian. No, seriously. I got thrown out of my church. I've even been accused of violating Canada's blasphemy law by the UUA. And Alan said that, one of his ways of moving forward was stand up for our values. And I've certainly been standing up for my own personal values for quite some time, but I believe that I've been standing up for the claimed values of Unitarian Universalism since, I got into a conflict situation with the UUA. I was constantly pointing out to them how they're out of alignment with the claimed principles and purposes of Unitarian Universalism, not to mention a former tradition of opposing blasphemy laws that lasted for about 3 centuries until they accused me of blasphemy. So I think just standing up for yourself and standing up for the traditional values of Unitarian Universalism as expressed in the 7 principles, the 6 purposes, and older, claim principles and ideals and so on has certainly been good for me, and I think it'd be good for most members of the NAUA.
Thank you. Thank you. I see one more hand up on Zoom. I think it says Terry.
Hi.
Oh, you muted yourself.
Unmuted.
There you go. No.
First of all, I'd like to say hi to Frank and Jay. Thank you for all you're doing, and everybody else too. And I wish I was there. And I want to thank them for Used to Be UU, that really did a lot for bringing me up to speed on where we were as a religion. What I've gotten a lot of support out from lately is going to different churches in my county. My goal is to go to every church in the county, which is going to be so fun. I still go to 3 different UU churches, 2 in Florida and 1 in Georgia. I love all of these churches also. But what other people were saying, which is, just get out there, stay busy, do interesting things. And thanks again to everybody who's helping to put this shindig together.
Great. Thank you. Any last comment? Oh, yeah.
Terry was part of the church in Jacksonville.
Terry's part of the church in Jacksonville.
She was very, very big part of the
Yeah, hold on, Penny. Let me bring you the mic.
No.
It's okay.
Terry, surprise, this is Penny.
Hi.
I just wanted to mention that Terry was also a member of the UU Church in Jacksonville. Who was a big part of.
Go ahead.
Was a big part of the task force, for the Article 2 task force that my church participated in before GA and.
Great. Keep your eye on that Jacksonville congregation. Okay, unless anybody here has one last little thing they want to say about moving forward, I just want to close. Candace found a lovely quote here from Anne Frank, so I'll close with her words, and we'll take a little break, and then Todd will be the facilitator of our next workshop. Anne Frank says, "I don't think of all the misery, but of all the beauty that remains.